Today, I'm joined by a man who built a global martial arts empire valued at over $100 million.
I live here now.
You live here?
Yeah, this is my home now.
Why? Tell us about it.
I've been wanting to make this happen for a while. The UK is on its knees, is in trouble. I love the island. When you live here, I just don't understand why Cypriots would want to go on holiday. To me, it's a hidden gem. It's like paradise. You just look at the ocean, you think, wow. And the biggest question was, can I operate my business, my properties and everything I need to do from the island of Cyprus?
If somebody would ask you, okay, who is this guy? Who is Matt Fiddess? Before we go into your story, are you a martial artist, an entrepreneur, Michael Jackson's bodyguard, father, a husband, combination of this or something else? How would you describe yourself?
Whether I like it or not, it's going to be being the biggest pop star in the world's bodyguard and friend. I'm never going to get away from that. And he did warn me of that when I first met him, that if I become his friend and I'm seen in public, my life will always be in his shadow. And interesting enough, he said to me, when I die, you'll always be labelled as my friend. From school, I'll be training. I'd wake up early. We'd have one TV in the house. I'll watch Jean-Claude Van Damme. I'll watch Bruce Lee without my parents realising, because I was so obsessed with it. I was a martial arts fanatic. I was just new. This is all I want to do.
How did you start that school and you had like 1,700 members very fast?
I really didn't have a lot of choice because my parents were against it. Anyway, the gym shut down. I was forced to move back in with my parents, which was the worst thing ever. Me and my father don't get on at all. I always knew naturally that you had to be aggressive with your marketing to be good at business. There's three areas of business. You've got the sales, you've got the marketing, and you've got what you get to do, which is the service. Long story short, 6 months later, I was doing £1 million a year profit. I had 700 members.
How old were you?
Just turning 18.
So if it's not luck, what is it? Is there an entrepreneurial DNA? Is it life forcing you?
If I started a business off now, what would I do? I would go into what people don't talk about a lot of my story. I think they find it boring, especially media. I've got one of the largest property portfolios in the southwest of the UK.
Yes.
So I had two.
What can you tell us about that, investing in property?
AI is going to change things. Metaverse is going to be a huge thing. Industries are going to be wiped out overnight.
When and how did you meet Michael Jackson when you met and then you decided to become his bodyguard and you stayed next to him for 10 years?
Yep. How
did it all start?
I was part of the greatest network, we called it back then. We used to go meet at Mohammed Al-Fayed's house, the owner of Harrods in London, the Ritz Hotel in Paris. A billionaire sat opposite me. And then I had Michael Jackson here, I had Uri Geller here, I had Daryl Hannah, the movie star, David Blaine. And I'd be looking around thinking, how the hell did I get here?
Today, I'm joined by a man who built a global martial arts empire valued at over $100 million, starting from just £100 in savings at age 16. He has trained with legends, advised celebrities, and served as the personal bodyguard and close friend of Michael Jackson for over a decade. But behind the fame, the Entrepreneur of the Year awards, and the global success with his business is a powerful story of a boy who was bullied, who chose discipline over excuses, and went on to create a truly extraordinary life. He's a business mogul, a father of 6, and a passionate mentor for the next generation. Matt Fiddess, welcome to Cyprus.
We make it happen at last.
What brings you here? I'm so excited.
I live here now.
You live here?
Yeah, this is my home now.
Why? Tell us about it.
I've been wanting to make this happen for a while. The UK is on its knees, is in trouble. As you mentioned, I've got 6 children. Mm-hmm. Kind of, when you actually said that, it makes me wake up thinking 6 children. I actually want to have one more too. I've got 6 children, and what's important for me is the future, the lifestyle, and where the UK is heading right now. I've not been happy for some time. I've met with you before about this subject. I tried to come over here in 2020, and I won't mention the names in case you get a shadow ban, but we all had to stay indoors for what happened in that situation. So I came over here in March 2020 to look at living in Paphos. And I was very excited, and then all of a sudden, slam, all my plans were stopped for a couple of years. And I love the island. to me, it's a hidden gem. It's like paradise. You just look at the ocean, you think, wow. When you live here, I just don't understand why Cypriots would want to go on holiday. I've got Cypriot friends now and they go on holiday and I think this is like, where else can you beat this? I mean, I've been to the Maldives, which is my favorite place, but...
You still don't have island fever because you fly out often, but we have something called island fever when you are too long on an island. Even if it's the perfect island, you still feel like escaping. But
I forget. So the first few days when I lived here, I mean, the flight out here was pretty scary. Me and my wife, my kids thinking, what are we doing? And then you fly over the beautiful clear water sea and you land. And everything's more relaxed here. But for me, for health reasons and everything else, it's just been the best decision I've ever done. And I've wanted to do it for some time. And I'm normally an action taker. I don't put things off. But things got in the way that were out of my control. And there's not much I could do about that. And the biggest question was, can I operate my business, my properties and everything I need to do from the island of Cyprus and not being in my country? And that was the thought process being holding me back for some time. In actual fact, now I've been here now since, actually I've been out of the UK since March. Mm-hmm. Originally, I went to look at living in Portugal, which wasn't really for me and the children. I still wanted to go to Cyprus. It's just very different.
What was the thing or the things that made Cyprus stand out to you as a British person who is here as an Irish person with an Irish passport?
Yeah, I became Irish a couple of weeks ago.
Because of the
politics,
British politics. But Irish Matt Fiddess is in Cyprus.
Yeah. You're the first time to interview me on a podcast as an Irishman.
For relocation purposes. But what were the things that made you, as a British, choose Cyprus versus
So I've come
Portugal?
here on holiday various times and you think, imagine living here, must be wonderful, you know? And it's not so much the weather, because the weather doesn't really bother me so much. It's the safety of Cyprus, the opportunities. And also, it's not too far away from the UK for me to be able to pop back and visit. So I have gone back there for an event and come back the same day. It's no issue. You can work on the plane. You've got Wi-Fi in the plane nowadays. People look at Cyprus, I think, sometimes and think it's too far away. Or they get concerned, if I'm honest with you, that it's the Middle East. They think and I heard this a lot when we had the recent issues going on with Israel and Iran. I had friends and family, because of the media around the world, the mainstream media, the way they report it, like you need to come back to UK. Yeah. You've had a terrorist attack in Paphos, and I'm thinking, what are you talking about? There's nothing going on here, you know. It's dangerous, and I got a friend who's a politician. I won't say the person's name. I messaged them and I said, well, do you think I need to come back to UK, or am I in danger here? And said, no, actually, you're safer in Cyprus than you are in the UK. And that reassured me. But yeah, the nonsense of the media is something else. But I was 45 coming out here, and everyone told me, my network of friends said, Matt, if you don't do it now, you'll never do it. You know, my oldest children are now 21, 19 and 18. They're all adults. And when they start popping out babies and stuff, that's going to probably change my life, you know, and this is the perfect time. My younger children are 11, 9 and 6. And for them to give them this incredible lifestyle with the sunshine, the outdoor living, and it is a dramatic change. I've had to go through a very adapt process. It's not as easy as people think. There's a lot of boxes you need to tick before you just get it. All these people that are just up and leaving and going to Dubai without even thinking about it. You got to sit down and think about things. So my initial process was to go to Portugal, and we landed in Portugal in at the end of March, and it just wasn't for me. Once you've been to Cyprus, you compare it to Portugal. I like the Mediterranean Ocean.
Yeah,
I love the Med.
There's something different about the vibe here.
Yeah, I love the Mediterranean Ocean. I love the feeling of the air here. Portugal is Atlantic Ocean. It's very different, you know, and a very much a cultural different language barrier in Portugal. There's no language barrier in Cyprus at all. Everyone's fluent English, and where I live in Cyprus too, you'd be lucky to find many Cypriots. It's very much an English expat place, family place, and also every week, believe it or not, I'm around more English people now than I was in England, because every week, because it's a tourist area, I've got English people coming up and recognizing me, saying hi, they can't believe I'm here, which I didn't even give a second thought. People see me on podcasts and TV shows and stuff, and Michael Jackson fans, or people follow my work, and they flabbergasted to see that I'm here on the boardwalk walking in Porturas, and so on. But it's always been a dream. We've made it happen. It comes with its challenges, and we're overcome most of them now. My children love it. My wife loves it. She got no intention of... We've got this magnificent house in the UK, which this is unbelievable. And yeah, she doesn't miss the country at all. And has it affected? It's improved my productivity.
Really?
Absolutely. We're 2 hours ahead.
In which way?
Several things. We're 2 hours ahead of the UK. The nutrition is better here. I don't know why, but everything seems to be another level here.
It's fresh. It's the sun. It's the soil. It's also you're by the beach, so you can buy produce from the producers who are close by. The supermarkets even, they take produce from these producers, from the soil close to you.
Yeah,
everything is fresh and so nutritious. And
also too, like in the UK, obviously we have a lot of rain. I mean, that's just the way it works. So I walk at least 4 or 5 miles a day while I do my voice notes, my messages, my phone calls. Whereas in the UK, I'll be sat in my office or in a room in my house. So it's very much more outdoor living, which we've had to adjust to. I've lost about 3.5 stone. I've lost all my big muscles that I've had. I'm not too bothered about that. I would rather have the cardiovascular health side of things. So that's been a big transformation for me. So yeah, the big changes is indoor living spaces in the UK. The house we have there is magnificent. Houses out here are built for outdoor living. So trying to adapt to that has been a little bit more difficult. But so I work when I'm outside now. I outside working, and it's improved my business. And all those things I've listed, it just makes you feel good when you've got the sun on you a few hours a day. The exercise, the feel, to see the kids are happier, and my wife's happier here. And when I actually think about it, you forget you're on this little small island after a while. You forget we're in the middle of nowhere in the Mediterranean. You don't think about that when you're driving around and when you're working. When the first few weeks you're here, you're paranoid about it. You think, I'm so far from home. So now it just feels to me, it's no different. So in the UK, my life would consist of, after the 2020, 2022 thing where we had to stay at home, things changed in my career where it was voice notes, Zooms, and people didn't want to meet so often. So I fly into my events, I fly back again. And I worked out in the UK. I was working from home anyway. As long as I have an internet connection, it makes no difference to me. Meetings, people fly in to see me.
They love to fly into Cyprus.
They love it here. I've had 2 of my franchisees have come over already. We will hold our events here in the future because they're cheaper. Believe it or not, it's cheaper for me to have an event here in the winter here where it's still going to be 20, 25 degrees and have a conference room on the beach and have them book their flights early than it is for them to get a train to go to London nowadays.
Yeah, and they will enjoy it so much more. It will be like going to a retreat.
Their family.
The same cost of getting a flight to come to Cyprus and traveling from different parts of the UK.
You can pay a train ticket now from Exeter, near where I lived in Devon, to London. Depending on the time, you could spend £250 on that. You can, if you book early, you can get a £40 return flight from a London airport to Cyprus, as long as you plan it in advance and so on. So business-wise, it's opened up opportunities for me too. So now we're doing MF Cyprus. We're doing
we are going to see
we've
a
got
local
somebody's
franchise.
interested in a master franchise. And then we're doing Portugal and Germany. So we're going to go all over Europe. But the key thing for me, obviously, and you know a lot about this, we've been talking about this, is luckily my mum was born in Ireland. Without that, my journey was very difficult, not just in Cyprus, but in Portugal as well. because of UK exiting the EU. I had no idea as a businessman the impact this would have. So I know we're going to do another podcast about this, but if you are thinking about emigrating, do your homework. Can you live in that country? Because it's not as easy as you think.
What is your advice to the British people watching us? Because there are many British people watching us, watching me as well, talking about relocation right now. It's like everyone wants to leave. But what is your advice now that you have done the relocation as a British who also have an Irish passport? So you skipped the British part.
Yeah.
What would you advise them to look into before coming here? Like a checklist?
They need to have professional advice, but they need to make sure everyone's circumstances is very different. You mustn't emigrate, and I see a lot of influencers talking about this, just for tax. You can't just pick a country just because of tax. Mm-hmm. If you've got children involved, it changes things very significantly. So if you're just doing it for tax, you're going to get yourself in bother. You've got to do it as a family decision, a lifestyle decision, because it is very different. Living in Cyprus is extremely different than the UK. Not as difficult as it was for me in Portugal. We found that extremely hard. They drive on a different side of the road. They drive a bit crazier than they do over here. The police are very efficient here, and there's no crime here whatsoever. You remember, Portugal is a third world country. Once you get outside of the Algarve, you're seeing a very different experience when you live there. Until you go on holiday there, it's a false environment.
I think people need to pay attention to this because we Cypriots, we tend to complain a lot about our country. But coming from you now, we see that we are much better than some other European countries that...
Yeah. It's a misunderstood country, Cyprus is. You know, I get it all the time. Like, you live in the Middle East. I said, no, we're in Europe. But what about all the countries around you, like Israel and Turkey and Iran and Lebanon, and always at war? And I'm like, we're so far away from that. We're European. It's like being in England with the sun. So for me, I think my business partners were a bit nervous at the beginning about me doing this. Now they don't want me to come back because they see so much more effort going into the company, more investment going into the company. They can also aspire to do it coming over here one day. I hope they'll make it easier for British people to live here because luckily my mum is Irish, my grandparents are Irish, and people have been trying to sell me to get my Irish passport since Brexit, and I just thought they were crazy. I thought, why would I want my mum's passport for? But it turns out it's one of the most powerful passports in the world. So if you can get yourself a European passport, if you've got a family member, a parent or grandparent who was born in Bulgaria or any European, go and get it now before they change the rules on you, because it'll make your life moving to Cyprus streamless. Don't just come and fly to an island or a country like Dubai or without getting professional advice, and make sure you've got references from those companies that they do know what they're talking about. Because I've been to 11 different advisors and each person's told me a different thing. It's actually your business partner who put me straight on everything in the end. But yeah, it's difficult. You can't just up and leave.
Go to experts, don't go to a random, let's say, British guy who decided to start a business for relocation, doesn't have the licenses, doesn't know the local market so well.
And check out your own country rules too, because advisors
exit rules,
because a Cyprus advisor or Portugal advisor or Dubai advisor will only talk about their country. You've got to make sure you can.
If they're professional, they will tell you, please go to your local advisor, do your exit properly, because if they just want to get the job, they're not professional, and you don't exit properly, you're going to get in trouble.
Yeah.
You're going to get in trouble in your local country. So they're not doing their job here correctly if they don't advise you how to exit.
And there's restrictions on me. I mean, we'll go into this deeper on another podcast, but I'm not allowed any more than 90 days in the UK. I wasn't deemed a resident of the UK again. Other things too. I mean, like minor things here, the benefits are my youngest child, Mayela, my daughter, in and out of the swimming pool and the air conditioning, she got ear infection real bad. In the UK, you would have to go and see a GP. It's not an emergency. So maybe 3 or 4 days, you'll get an appointment. You have to ring up and queue at 8 in the morning. We went to the local, our nanny who looks after our children. She said, come with us, you just walk in. And we walked into the local medical center, like a hospital type thing. And I couldn't believe it. And I said, my daughter's, she's in agony and pain. I'm sorry to bother you, but she really is. Because, oh no, we're used to this, sir. And it's the air conditioning. Your body will have to adapt, and the climate and the swimming pools, which are necessary to live in Cyprus for sure. And they said, okay, we need to call the consultant. I said, no, we don't need a consultant. She's just got an ear infection. She said, oh no, for children, they have to be a consultant. I was like, wow. I'm going to see a consultant. So they called in an ear, nose and throat consultant who was with us, drove from their home within 15 minutes. We paid €100. The consultant diagnosed her, treated her there and then, prescribed, walked out, done, half an hour. UK, to try and see a consultant, you would have to be on death's door.
Everything
literally.
is very fast, and actually this ear infection is very common in Cyprus in the summer. So if you would know, you just walk into a pharmacy, they give you some drops.
Yeah.
Also, we put olive oil, just a tip, and then with cotton.
They were telling me all about
the
it.
medical system is excellent, and if you are paying taxes here, anyone that is paying the social insurance, they can get all this for free.
Yeah.
For €150 a year. So we can do another episode on that. I want to go a little bit more into who is Matt Fiddess and your story. Sure. If somebody would ask you, okay, who is this guy? Who is Matt Fiddess? Before we go into your story, are you a martial artist, an entrepreneur, Michael Jackson's bodyguard, a father, a husband, combination of this or something else? How would you describe yourself?
That's a good question. I've never been asked that before. The number one thing for me is that I'm a family person first. So everything I do is my wife and then my children is the first thought process. So I'm a family guy. That's basically, and I believe that's led into my success in business. If you ask me what am I most well known for, whether I like it or not, it's going to be being the biggest pop star in the world's bodyguard and friend. I'm never going to get away from that. And he did warn me of that when I first met him, that if I become his friend and I'm seen in public, my life will always be in his shadow. And interestingly enough, he said to me, when I die, you'll always be labeled as my friend. Because he's seen what happened with Elvis Presley's bodyguards. I got to know them actually, Bill Wallace and people like that. He knew very much that if he passed away, the spotlight on the people around him was going to be enormous. So, and that was true, because up until Michael passed away, people knew Michael Jackson was my mate, that I would help him out as his bodyguard. He would advise me in business. I would help him out on certain things too. As soon as he died, when the media wrote about me, he was no longer a businessman or multimillionaire. Matt Fiddess is doing this or doing that. He's suddenly become Michael Jackson's bodyguard is doing this. And for a couple of years, I have to be honest with you, I really struggled with that. It made me angry.
That's how I met you, and I had no idea of everything else you have built. That's why I want to go first into that story, because it's incredible what you built. And then, of course, we're going to go into Michael Jackson and mostly what you learned being next to that legend. But you started martial arts at 7 years old.
That's right.
After being bullied and after having some trouble at home. And by age 13, you had a black belt. And by age 16, you started a martial arts business.
That's right.
That became very successful very fast. I cannot even fathom that. A teenager from a normal average British family starting a martial arts business at 16 with no leaving school and then making it super successful. Today, you have 1,500 schools globally.
But 2008 as of today.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been working hard since that.
Okay.
We need to update a few things.
On your website, But I want you to take me back to that 7-year-old Matt Fiddess.
Yeah.
What went on in your mind at that time? What was happening in your life that pushed you to go into martial arts? And what was the impact that martial arts had on you?
So I was a very skinny, shy, underconfident boy. And I was no good at school. It just was not for me. And I tried so hard, but I suffered with handwriting issues. So that was my biggest problem. I couldn't draw pictures, like you have to draw dinosaurs and diagrams and stuff. Handwriting was a massive issue for me. And I hated it. I just hated it. I became very good at convincing my mother that I was ill, sick, so I didn't have to go to school. In the end, she worked out that what the issue is. Now, when you're underconfident, you're going to attract confident kids who are going to pick on you. And there was a child at school called Anthony, and he's a good friend of mine now, but he was very confident, comes from a very successful family, very strong and so forth. And yeah, I guess I was like the little nerdy kid in class, and he was calling me names, kicking me under the table, and I'd hide from him in the playground at school. But yeah, remember, I was like 5, 6, 7 years old here at the time, but it does have a major impact on your life. And the handwriting issue, later on in my life, they realized that when I got to secondary school, because it was terrible, it's still terrible now, I can't write. I mean, I'm not ashamed to say it anymore. I saw a famous guy in the UK on Piers Morgan's show, Harry Redknapp. He came out with the fact that he can't write. And I thought, well, what the hell, I'll tell everyone. So I can sign my name, but that's all I've had to do in my life. It's never caused me any issues. If I have to fill out forms, I give them to my wife fills out the form and I sign it, it's done. I mean, it's never held me back. It's been completely irrelevant. And in fact, nowadays, when you go to hotels, it's all done on iPads or DocuSign. So it's irrelevant to my success. People are shocked when they find that out. But back then, secondary school, they worked out I was actually not right-handed. They assume you're right-handed in infant school. I was left-handed. And I should have picked that up because in martial arts, I was always kicking with my left leg. That's my best leg for kicking and so on. And they tried their best with all devices to make me start improving it, but it was too late. And if you can't write well, it has an effect on your mathematics reports, everything, So school was never going to work for me. The bullying encouraged me to think, okay, I need to start looking out to defend myself. Now, the kid sat next to me went to a martial arts class. And he said, Matt, why don't you come along? And I went along to it. First few lessons were free. And it was something I was naturally extremely good at. My parents were so against it. My dad called it legalized violence. And my mum, she was a bit more encouraging because my grandfather was picked for the Olympic Games for weightlifting in 1960. And he was 7 times Irish weightlifting champion. So he saw in me what he hoped. He had 14 children, and he hoped one of them was going to be, God forbid, athletic. In fact, there's so many grandchildren, there must be hundreds of us. There's one other grandchild, my cousin, Wendy. She went on to be Miss Australia bodybuilding champion. I only found that out the last few years. We lost touch. She's just a couple of years younger than me. It's just me and her, really, that have this sporting flair. So I could already do the splits. I could already do the high kicks on my first lesson. And I do believe that naturally there is a genetic involvement in bodybuilding or martial arts. There is. Depends on how you build. I've got these long legs and stuff. And my martial arts instructor saw the potential in me. He's like, you could be a champion one day. And I'll go back to my parents and beg them. And he let the martial arts instructor let me train free for a few months until I convinced my father, and it was like £1 a class or something back then, that this is good for me, And I'd come home from school, I'll be training. I'd wake up early. We had one TV in the house. I'll watch Jean-Claude Van Damme. I'll watch Bruce Lee without my parents realizing, because I was so obsessed with it. And it became, I studied all the martial arts, Aikido, Judo, Taekwondo. Taekwondo was my main one. And in the end, I was a martial arts fanatic. I was just new. This is all I want to do.
It became a passion. It was your talent, your passion, your natural talent as well.
Well, at school, I was being told, you're no good at this, you can't do this, you can't do that, the tension for this. And it's not my fault.
So you were good. So you felt empowered.
Yeah, for once, someone was telling me I'm actually good at something. I thought, fantastic, And when I was 13 years old, I was in my mathematics class, and I'll never forget it to these days. So back then, we had an exercise book for each class. We'd have a notebook for maths, one for science, one for English. So I was in my maths class, bored out my brain, thinking, dear me, here we go. I knew I was going to fail my GCSEs. I'm not academic. My mum was a solicitor, All of her brothers and sisters, all 14 of them, are very incredibly intelligent, gone to university, got a degree. My dad comes from an engineering background, so does my grandfather, working in a industrial trade. So they wanted me to either go to university or get a trade, become an electrician or some sort. In fact, they made my other granddad take me into his house, and he gave me a big lecture one day on Matthew, stop throwing your legs around. You're never going to make any money of that. You need to become an electrician or a plumber or something like that. You're wasting your life away. And then 3 years later, he's like became my biggest fan. I was like, wow, I'm so sorry for what I said to you. I can't believe what you've gone and done. And
you had a black belt by 13 years old.
Yeah, I was 12 years old when I got my black belt. Yeah,
12. And by 16, you left school with 100 pounds and you started your own Matt Fiddess school.
16, left school.
How on earth did you do that? How did you start that school and you had like 1,700 members very fast?
I really didn't have a lot of choice because my parents were against it. I was 16. We have this tradition in in my family, not anymore, not my children, but if you're a man at 16, you're kind of seen to, okay, you need to leave home at 16. That's the way it's been. So I always was raised like that. I knew that. So me and I believe 2 of my brothers, they left home at 16 as well. So I left home at 16, didn't really think of it. I had a personal trainer qualification, so I loved the gym. And I worked in the gym since I was 13 years old, just serving protein shakes, helping people with their training and so on. It was a big passion of mine, bodybuilding was. And so I started working in the gym as a personal trainer. And I thought in my head, okay, I need to wait and get a bit older because no one's going to take me seriously at 16. I was ready to open up a business. I read Tony Robbins' book and Unleash the Power Within, Awaken the Giant.
So you were reading books on your own, you were getting educated?
I was self-educating, 3 to 4 books per week. Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad series, the games, everything. You imagine, I was really, really into that, like all the time. Any spare money I had, I built up this incredible library of self-help books. The only thing that was stopping me back was this fear that no one would take me seriously. Then I read somewhere that if men look older, I know it sounds ridiculous, if you grow your hair long. So I grew this ponytail. And I just gave me the confidence there. And I know it sounds ridiculous, but it is true to some extent, because when you have your hair cut short afterwards, I thought, yeah, you do look younger. Then I thought, what the heck? Anyway, the gym shut down. So I was left in a situation where I had to do something. My parents had moved to the south coast of the UK from Swindon, which is a very built-up area. The south coast, there's nothing there apart from tourism. I was forced to move back in with my parents, which was the worst thing ever. Me and my father don't get on at all. So I moved out into a bedsit, which was £30 a week with my girlfriend. She moved from Swindon with me. And I got a job at the North Devon Leisure Centre for £2.75 an hour as a lifeguard. I had a lifeguard qualification too, which I obtained at secondary school, which was fine. And problem I had is that I could only just barely, she works in the local chip shop, fish and chip shop, and we could only just barely make the rent, £30, £35 a week. And we got evicted from one bedsit to another bedsit. I saw her recently. She comes to my entrepreneurial events. We're good friends. We went through 4 bedsits where we got evicted. And my parents were watching from a side thinking, he's going to go back to school soon, surely, or go to college or study. And in the end, she said, you know what, Matt? It was Christmas time. She said, you've got to stop messing about. And she bought me this briefcase, which was a thing back then for business people, like a symbolic thing. Go and start this martial arts business off you've been talking about. And I still waited around until August 1997. I'll never forget the day because it's quite an interesting story, this is too. And I always knew naturally that you had to be aggressive with your marketing to be good at business. There's 3 areas of business. You've got the sales, you've got the marketing, and you've got what you get to do, which is the service. Most people focus on area number 3, the service, and they fail. If you're not good at sales and marketing, number 1 and 2, you're never going to succeed in your business. So I put posters everywhere, leaflets through the doors, wake up at 5 in the morning. I was getting chased by dogs, shouted at by people. I didn't care because I knew I had to make this work. I wanted to prove the school bully wrong, prove my mum and dad wrong, prove my grandparents wrong. My Irish grandfather was behind me, by the way, because he believed in me. He actually came to watch me in my martial arts classes. My parents had never watched me do martial arts, even up to when I got my black belt. Only when I made it financially did they come and watch me. In fact, my father ended up working for me full time. Would you believe it? So yeah, it was hard with the bedsits, but I had nothing to fall back on. No money, no rich parents, nothing like that. And I started off my martial arts school late August. You'd have to look at the date, but it's a very famous date. I had over 100 people booked in for class. It's on a Sunday morning. I rented a primary school out. It was about £15 for a morning 3-hour slot. So for 100 people, fantastic. I was going to charge £3 a session. I was all excited, put my martial arts uniform, tied my black belt there, went with my girlfriend. Nobody turned up. Empty. I was like, I can't believe this.
I think I know which day it is.
Yeah. And then I walk home to our bedsit and I said to Melissa, this is so embarrassing. My parents are right. I'm going to have to go back to college. I'm going to have to become an electrician or something. So I sort my handwriting out. I don't know what to do. We turned the TV on. Princess Diana died.
You know why? I'm a bit older than you. I was studying in the UK. my father picked me up from the airport. I was in the plane when she died. And he picked me up from the airport here in Cyprus, and he was driving, and he said, Princess Diana died. It was 1997.
Yeah.
So
it's like August
August
29th.
Now. I remember that day.
Yeah. So, but even then I was so young. I didn't think everyone's going to be glued to the TV. Is this true? Is this not true? And, I just thought my martial arts business is never going to work. No one's ever done it before. So I was like the pioneer in trying to work this thing out. There's a guy in Swindon who had some success in it, but it was also pay per class and so on. Anyway, I didn't want to give up. So I thought to myself, maybe it's because Princess Diana, they shut the whole country down for a week, if you remember. They in the UK anyway, they closed shops out of respect for her. And until the funeral was out of the way, there was no way anything was going to work. Then I rebooked everyone back in after Princess Diana's funeral was out of the way and everything was back running again in the UK. And those 100 people turned up. And I got them all paying £3 a session. And I was doing okay. I twice a week on a Wednesday night and a Sunday morning. And I was like, yes, I've done it. Fantastic. The problem you have, on the rare occasion when the sun does come out in the UK, you don't get paid. The students don't come to class. They get out of routine. They want to, especially in Devon where you've got the beautiful beaches there. So we had pagers back then. And I'm not that old. I just turned 46. We had pagers. So I launched my business off a pager. So people would notify them. I can't remember how it worked. And I'd get a message with a number to ring this person. Then I'll go to a red phone box, ring up the people and book them in. And I had a page from a friend of mine. It bleeped off and he said, Matt, you got to call me urgently. This is my friend in Swindon. He's called Lee Childs. And Lee said to me, I've just come back from America. Go to a red phone box, call me. I call him. I said, what's going on? He goes, I've just come back from America and you won't believe what's going on in the States. They're like 25, 30 years ahead of us. So, well, tell me, what's happened? So you've got multi-millionaire martial arts schools out there. You've got people with thousands of members with Ferraris and Lamborghinis. And I was like, Lee, it's American nonsense. I don't want to be lowering my standards because as a traditional martial artist, we're all about how good our kicks are, like a bodybuilder is about how bigger their muscles are. Do you think that the higher you kick or the more championships you're going to win, you're going to get more students? That's not the way it works at all. It's more, what can you do for your client? They're only interested in what you can do for them. Anyway, he convinced me in the end to go to this conference in America, in San Francisco. I saved up £350, which is hard to do. I used my last money to go to this business conference. And there's over 1,000 martial arts business owners there, all Americans. I was like 17. And I walked up to the owner of the conference and I was confident because of my martial arts. And he was in his 80s. He had lots of shares in Marriott hotels, lots of properties, multi-millionaire. He's called Mr. Kokinas. I said, Mr. Kokinas, nice to meet you. My name's Matt from the UK. And I said, I've heard about you. And I'm so impressed. And unlike England, where if you do well, they want to stab you in the back, Americans, they praise you and they want to help you. And he saw this opportunity to take this young guy with a ponytail, 17 years old. And he said to me, I remember his words, he said, if I'm going to make you rich, I might as well make you famous too. And all I ask in return is that you become a testimonial for my company. And he introduced me to all the biggest, most successful martial arts school owners in the States. He told me who to follow and who not to follow. Mm-hmm. He said, take all the notes back, all our procedures and how we do things in America back to UK. He couldn't guarantee me it's going to work. Some worked, some didn't. I kind of developed my own thing. Anyway, long story short, 6 months later, I was doing £1 million a year profit. I had 700 members.
How old were you?
Just turning 18. But
wow.
I couldn't sign the lease. So I wasn't 18 yet, but because I had to get my girlfriend to sign the lease because she was 2 years older than me. That was the problem we had, which we overcome. This guy thought I was crazy. I said, I want to rent your building out. And he's like, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to teach martial arts. You're going to make money from karate? And then 6 months later, I remember when he came in there, he's like, wow, we should have charged you more. He just couldn't believe his eyes. I took the second floor and the third floor in the end. And the building was shaped. We had 700 members. It was the biggest martial arts school in the UK. And then I thought to myself, can I do this again? And this time, though, I tried it out at school halls and community centres. So I did all the local towns, Bideford, Barnstable, Ilfracombe, South Molton. And I went to about 1,500 members. And I stood about 1.3, 1.4 million profit per year. And I thought it was luck. I just thought, wow, what's going to happen? I'm like, and I remember Tony Robbins saying something like this on stage, that he had this like fear of maybe he's going to die young, or this is just a fluke. It's going to go away. Something's going to go wrong. Maybe it's the ponytail. If I cut that off, it's all. I couldn't explain. You imagine my parents thinking, "What's happened to Matt?" I bought a Ferrari 355 at 19 years old, which is one of my goals I wrote in that exercise book that day at school in my maths class. It was to become the most successful martial arts school owner in the world, be in perfect shape, have a Ferrari 355 when I was 19 because my brother designed them. So he had all these pictures where I grew up with them all around the wall. I think he did his apprenticeship at Ferrari. He's an incredible artist, my brother Nathan is. And I owned one, and I was driving that around this town, and I made it. I couldn't believe it.
So if it's not luck, what is it? Is there an entrepreneurial DNA? Is it life forcing you into molding this character because you said you had no choice? And Cypriot's parents watching this, they have their kids, they want to have them at home, hold them at home until they get married. They never kick their kids out. So they become very mommy's boys, mommy's girls, spoiled. And you're like exactly the opposite. So what do you think about entrepreneurship? Can it be taught? Is it something that comes with life experience and challenges? Is it a DNA?
Wow. I think it's a combination of things. People want to avoid pain and go towards pleasure. If you want to be successful, you need to move towards pain. So everyone's conditioned to try, I want to stay away from the gym. I don't want to go to the gym. I don't want to lift big weights. But big weights is going to make you healthy. It's going to improve your mindset as well as your physical health and your mental health too. You have to, as an entrepreneur, you have to go towards pain. So if you look at the books I was studying Tony Robbins, which is all about setting goals, taking massive action, and never giving up, following a path, and so forth. So I was reading the right books from a very, very young age. When you're having that input at 16 years old, when all my friends are going out and getting drunk and chasing women, that's going to change your mindset. A lot of my friends went to college, obviously, went to university. And my brother did too. One of my brothers did as well, which is an interesting story because when he came out, I believe he stopped his education at 28 with all his degrees and so forth, did very well, cost a fortune. He came out of university, he got himself a job. I don't think it was in a career he studied for. But by that time, I was worth about 30 million and I had no university degree. So it was a very confusing situation in my family. But when you're bullied at school, you'll find most people who have gone on to be successful have had some kind of trauma in their life. So that bully did me the biggest favor of my life. And I shook his hand on national TV in front of 25 million people. I met him for the first time after 34 years. They found him. He wanted to meet me, wanted to say sorry for bullying me. I'm like, what do you want to say sorry for? Look what you've done. You've changed hundreds of thousands of kids' lives around the world with my schools. Look what you've done. And I said, let's not waste this opportunity. Let's use this to stop bullying. You could be my anti-bullying ambassador, and let's meet on the biggest TV show in England, which is this morning.
So maybe inside you, it was, I'm gonna succeed because it was something inside you. You wanted to prove yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
You wanted to prove yourself. So you turned bullying into something positive.
Yeah.
But then you self-educated through Tony Robbins and books.
Robert Kiyosaki. And now you have 6 kids. And I know you have a strong opinion on the education system. So what did you learn about the education system from this experience? Your brother going to university, getting all the degrees, and then hardly finding a good job. And then you, at the same time, being a multimillionaire at such an early age. Yeah, I'm very vocal about the education system, and I think it's completely outdated. It's a waste of time. It's a glorified babysitting system so that adults are able to go to work, to pay taxes, to keep the government funded on their fancy houses, their 2 houses they have, and their suits and their cars, and making decisions for us that are not in our favor. I think it's only beneficial to you if you want to be a doctor, a lawyer, an accountant, if you want to, something like that. Anything else, it's a complete waste of time. It's a complete and utter waste of time. And I look back at my school education and I can't wait to get it over. There was nothing I learned at school that's benefited to who I am today. At all. Nothing. So
how do you educate your kids outside the traditional school system, which they need to be in because of a law?
Yeah.
How what do you do to educate them to gain the skills that you gained? You followed your talent, your DNA, what you were really good at. And what advice do you have for other parents as well who are watching us?
My first 3 children went through the school system as normal, and they've turned out amazing. But bear in mind, they are now heading towards their 20s or in their 20s. So they went for a different type of secondary school. Now is very different in the UK. We're talking about England. They've observed my career and they've chosen their own path. They've all got jobs. They all know what they want to do. And I'm very proud of my older 3 daughters. They've not chosen to be entrepreneurs. I've not pushed that upon them. My younger 3, because I've got more time now, back with my older 3, I was building the business. I was out more and so on. And they understand that. I did this TV show called Rich House, Poor House in the UK. It's on Netflix now. I don't know if you can watch it from Cyprus, but you can watch it on series 2, episode 1. I did it 1 year later where we swap houses we go to a council house, government funded house, and they live in my mansion. They drive my cars and we live on their budget and so forth. And that was a good experience for my children to be humbled because they've always lived in these mansions and had no money issues ever. So my younger children understand their daddy is not normal. I keep telling them all the time, this is not normal, your life here in Cyprus right now. This is not. Normally people save up, maybe come here for 1 week every 2 years for their holiday. All these people you see around you, they understand. I keep them very humble, very grounded. I also teach them stuff that the school system don't teach. They learn about good debt, bad debt, goal setting, about the entrepreneur side. So my sons, I've got 4 daughters and 2 sons. My sons want to do business. They want to have their own business. And my daughter, my youngest one, she's 6. I can see she's got my mum's academic flair. I've got another daughter called Lola who's going to university in September. She wants to be a school teacher. She's academic. So I do believe there's some kids are born with this academic. We don't know, do we?
You just allow your kids to show their true talents and follow their unique interests, but you give them the mindset, the options.
Yeah. Everyone's different. So you cannot have one size fits all, 30, 40 kids in a room, or in the UK now, 50, 60 kids in a room at a time, and teach them all the same. So with my children, I look at them and think, okay, she's excelling. She's definitely academic. I mean, she loves school. She's telling me she wants to be a doctor already at 6 years old. She's a year ahead of her school system. So that's very different to the way my boys are. So I've got the time and the experience now and the wisdom to be able to nurture that in the right way. But I don't push them. None of my children do martial arts because they just see it as daddy's thing. They've been growing around it. Like the Michael Jackson thing, they don't know any different, do they? I mean, they've been growing up with their people stopping their daddy in their street and talking about Michael Jackson, and my older children get asked about it all the time. You know, they're sick and tired of it. It's just their dad, that they understand their dad's not normal. They get embarrassed by it sometimes, and sometimes they like it too. But yeah, you got to let your children be their own thing. But also, I'm in a situation where I can control who my children network with. I think that's important. Negative peer pressure can ruin your child's life. It could ruin it. Now, I'm an example where, for some reason, bullying to me gave me that fire in my belly to say to Anthony, I'm going to prove you wrong one day. He wasn't my only bully, by the way. My parents' mechanism to get me out of being bullied was to change school. I went to about 7 or 8 different primary schools. And every time I went to a different school, I got a different bully.
Wow.
Yeah. And I remember one of them, I told this story on national TV. I don't tell it too often because I'd be embarrassed, because I was actually buying a McDonald's drive-through, and a man like me shouldn't be having McDonald's, but yeah, everyone likes McDonald's every now and then. I was going for a drive-through in Swindon, and I had the Ferrari, and the guy who served me for the drive-through was the guy who bullied me at secondary school, not the first one. So he's working at McDonald's, he's looking at me thinking, what the heck? I'm in a convertible £140,000 Ferrari.
And you're like, look what you did.
I felt good that day, man. That was the best Big Mac I ever had. Yeah. That was an interesting
I understand bullying deeply because I was bullied. I changed schools, private schools. Something happened with the private school I was at, and my mother decided to change school at 14. And until that time, I was the popular girl, #1 student, and I went to the new schools, and the girls became jealous of the attention I was getting, and then they ganged up, and then I started getting bullied every single day. I went home crying. But analyzing it now maybe gave me this drive to
I give
succeed
my
more.
dad a hard time on podcasts for the way he was tough on me. My father was extremely hard on me. And we haven't spoken, I don't know, 17, 18 years now. But I do look back and I think he did what he had to do as a dad of 4 sons to protect us through the recession in 1989. The economy was bad back then. I mean, it was horrendous. And I remember my mum crying at dinner tables, had to pay bills and stuff like that. And I look back and think what my dad went through when his main concern was putting food on the table. And yes, he was tough on me, but then I've learned since from his cousins that his grandparents were even tougher on him. And I think that things evolve in time. So the school system was built for the industrial age. So you look at my grandparents, they died in their late 90s. I was very lucky to have them for such a long time in my life and a very good relationship with them. They fought in World War II and had bombs coming down. My grandfather went to Germany and didn't see my grandma for years. They didn't have email, they didn't have WhatsApp. They sent letters that took months. My grandma didn't even know if he was going to be alive or not. So after going through that, they're just happy to have one house, and those 4 walls that they lived in for 78 years, the same 4 walls for the rest of their life. And they just want you safe, secure, go to school, go to college, go to university if you're really good, buy a house, pay your house off, get a pension, have some holidays, then die. That's their thought process. After going for a war, that's all they know. And then that's the industrial age. Then I was raised in, we were coming into the offline world. So my business was built online. There was no email. There was no internet in 1997. It was not a thing. It was coming about, but we had MySpace and we had pages. Mobile phones were just coming back for the ultra rich, big, huge mobile phones. So my experience then at school was very much outdated again. So the school system is built for a select people that, if you took advice from your grandparents right now, they'll tell you what I've just told you. Buy a house, pay a mortgage off, don't take risks, don't do this, go to college, and you'll be okay. You will not be okay. It's the worst advice you could ever have, unless you want to be a doctor, lawyer, accountant. You don't want to pay your own house off. That's the last thing. You want to leverage the banks at their own gain. The banks are your enemy, unless you can work out how to use them to get rich. The richest people in the world understand, and there's only 3%, 97% of the world work for the top 3%. So the top 3%, you've got to look at them, what are they doing differently to the other people? Complete opposite. They leave school at 16. They turn their passion to profession. They make 100 grand a year. They work out how to invest. They know the difference between investing and spending, 2 very different things. You're not taught this stuff at school. You're not taught what good debt is or bad debt is, that mortgages can be used in your favor. Banks are very clever at what they do. People think money in the bank is safe. No, it's not. They don't guarantee all your money. They could go bankrupt. You could lose your money overnight. I believe in Cyprus there's a big crisis in this 20 odd years ago.
Yes, we lost a lot of money. Yeah, we have this experience, but most people don't learn and they still follow the traditional system because that's what the family expects of them. And family dynamics are very strong. You
have to stand up to your family. So I say in my entrepreneurial meetups and my masterminds and conferences, I advise people, don't love your family, but don't take advice from them. Because you've got 2 issues. First of all, they come up in a very different era to you, like the grandfather era, grandma with the bombs coming down. And your parents have just been taught by their parents, your grandparents. You need to just block that off because things change every 15 to 20 years, they evolve. So now we're going into, if I started a business off now, what would I do? I would go into aesthetics. Anti-aging is like huge right now. No one is looking at Botox is unusual anymore, or fillers unusual. Wherever you look, it's just normal now, all around the world. Anti-aging is a multi-billion industry. I would go into AI right now, metaverse. That's what I'd pivot if I was starting a business now, online. I certainly would not be going into retail or high street type stuff. Now, what people don't talk about a lot of my story, I think they find it boring, especially media. They cut it out. I don't know why. TV shows do. Is that I've got one of the largest property portfolios in the southwest of the UK.
Yes.
So I had 2.
What can you tell us about that, investing in property?
I read all the Rich Dad books. I love Robert Kiyosaki's work. I think what he taught back then in the late 90s is still relevant to today. I do believe property is the greatest investment in the world. They're not going to build any more land. and everyone needs a roof over their head. And if you can invest in the essentials, what people need, you're going to be okay. That's why the richest people own oil and so forth, you know, and everyone needs somewhere to stay, especially in the UK, where since property records were held, I think over 1,000 years ago, every 10 to 15 years, the property doubles in value. And we have a little island like Cyprus, which is a holiday destination, and it's very small.
A relocation destination now.
Yeah.
For people like you.
But it's not promoted enough. This is the problem. Everyone's picking Dubai over Cyprus, or Portugal over Cyprus.
I will be the face now.
Which is bizarre to me.
If you come here as well, we can talk about it.
Absolutely.
And we can promote Cyprus.
Yeah.
We have you here now, but...
to me, it's just like being in England in the sun. I mean, it really is.
But you know, the people in Cyprus and UK now and everywhere, when you have a job and you get like the normal salary, you cannot even afford to buy a house anymore. So people will say, yeah, that's okay, Matt Fiddess, for you to invest in properties.
I get this all the time.
Yeah.
It's anti-landlord mentality. If I sold all my properties in the UK, now let me tell you one thing, right? There is no incentive in the UK to be a landlord at the moment. They took away all the benefits. But there's this thing I heard years ago, I can't remember where I heard it, that the last landlord always wins. So people are exiting as a landlord at a crazy rate in England at the minute. They're selling all their assets, they're going to Dubai or Portugal. I mean, Dubai, you're going to spend 10, 15 million on a house in Algarve very easily. You know, at the moment in Cyprus, you're still going to pay a fair amount of money. It's driving the locals out, but once this becomes a Schengen country, it becomes easier to live here. You're going to find this matches what's happened in Portugal, because there's no tax benefits in Portugal anymore. It's they stopped that on March the 31st. So Cyprus is going to become a number one thing. But yeah, in the UK, it's a small country. It's overpopulated. You've got immigrants coming in that can't be controlled. They're housing them. They're forcing. They can't build the houses quicker. So I had a mentor, very famous around the world. He's nearly 80 now. He lives in Israel. A guy called Uri Geller. I believe he's very famous in Cyprus.
Yes,
he was brought up in Nicosia,
he came
funny
many
enough.
times. Yeah.
I was going to call him on the way here because he was raised here. It was some kind of war,
Yes,
Six-Day
I
War
think
something.
so. Yeah, he lived in Cyprus. He used to come and do a lot of shows when I was a child.
That's
I don't
right.
remember much.
So a lot of people around the world remember him for bending spoons with the power of his mind. He's got a museum in Israel. He's my best friend. He took me under his wing at 18 years old, and he drilled into me, they're not going to build any more land. Invest in property. Stop buying Ferraris. Buy houses. And he's done very well doing that. And I won't go into his personal business, but he's done extremely well with property. So he drilled that into me. And he was like a figure, an influencer to me to push me. Whenever he'd call me, I'd be like, oh, buy some more houses. So I was buying houses in the early 2000s that were 50,000 that are now worth 350, 400,000. That's where my real wealth has come from, which people find boring because it's not as exciting as my Michael Jackson story or my martial arts story.
The martial arts school or the Michael Jackson. You took money and then you invested slowly and steadily in low-cost properties, and then your portfolio
That's
grew.
how you build money, wealth. So there's a difference between being rich and being wealthy. So yes, I would not be able to have the property was not for the martial arts schools and my other businesses. But that's my highest taxed income. And if you're in the UK right now, on what you spend and what you earn, you're going to get taxed at about 70% in the higher rate, okay? 70p in a pound. It's ridiculous. So that income is your highest tax. And the goal of the game is to learn, just like anything, how to invest into property. Now, back then, there wasn't all these courses that you have now. And there's good courses out there, bad courses. I don't believe you need all these courses. You just need someone to tell you, do this, do this, do this. I could teach all the property strategies in one day to someone.
And you do have an online course, right?
I don't do it now. I just get people into a room.
Okay.
And I say, what do you want to go over? They want to learn how to do houses and multiple application, HMOs. Well, that's basically a 2-hour lesson for you. You don't need a whole year course on that. No money down. Give me an hour. You learn that. Okay. You might need a bit of mentoring and so on. So I just cut to the chase. I don't need to make money making courses. I've made my money now, so I like to give back and do it. Now there are some good sites to doing courses. I've got some friends who do property courses and stuff, and they keep them accountable. It's very important. Maybe the money will keep you accountable. But with me, I just get to the point and say, do this, do this, do this. And like, wow, I spent all this. I met someone who spent £350,000 on courses, not go anywhere. I taught them all they need to know in 2 hours.
As a person who had also online courses, I do other things now, but I teach. I did a lot of seminars. We have a lot of common friends.
Yeah. And the people we mix with are the real deal.
Yes,
that's what I want to get across.
But the people who came to my seminars and they actually did it were just doers. They didn't do it just because they joined the course. A lot of them, they're very big now, even on social media and everywhere. They just listened and they did. They didn't have to, they bought the courses maybe, but some of them didn't even sit on the courses because they got it. I just commit to this. And now I have to learn a bit more, and then I have to go and action it. And they action and action and action, and they become better over time with the information. Let's say we teach, I teach social media and branding. So I have seen the effect of doers. Yeah. Some people came to 2 seminars and became YouTubers with millions of views because they were doers.
Taking action. It always comes back to taking action. And with property, it's very hard to go wrong too, because you got to be quite stupid to go wrong. Let me give you an example like this, right? So we talked about my grandparents a lot in Swindon. They lived to one was 97, one was 98. And if I remember rightly, they had the same house for 70, nearly 80 years, okay? They bought that house, my grandfather used to always remind me, for £2,000. When they died, it sold for £250,000. They knew nothing about property investing. It wasn't even in their thought process. So they made basically £248,000 on that property from doing nothing, just from capital growth.
So is the market never overpriced? Let's say London was a little bit overpriced, it's going down now. Limassol in Cyprus, some people will question if the property prices are good to buy. So what is your opinion on that?
Well, London has a reason for that. And it's Chelsea, Kensington, Mayfair. I met someone in Cyprus who flew in, a multi-millionaire. It's actually nearly a billionaire who's got lots of property around London. And it's dipped by about 40% currently. It's a good time to buy. The reason for that is the government has driven all the billionaires and millionaires out. So where all the multi-million-pound homes are,
and they come
people
to
can't
Cyprus.
Sell them anymore.
They come to Cyprus and raise the prices in Limassol. So that's what I'm asking. Like, is it overpriced in some areas and then you might lose value, or you never lose value in the long term?
There's more babies popping out than the speed that they can build houses. I mean, that's what it comes down to. And they can't, if you're talking about islands, it's different. Cyprus, England. England is an island. People forget that. There's only so much land there. You can't keep going like you can with other countries. Like America's different. You don't see the capital growth in house prices there. But when you buy a property, you should never buy it for capital growth. You should buy it for cash flow. Cash flow is king, not cash. You have to make sure you buy a house, you're making at least £200-300 a month on that after the mortgage is taken out, your taxation, and the difference between the rent and so forth. So that's the important thing. You can't have a crystal ball and hope that this price is going to go out. History shows us in Cyprus and in England that every 10 to 15 years they double. In Cyprus, they're predicted to go up by 30 to 40% once this country becomes a Schengen country. That's what's happened with history with other countries that were joined, which is going to be interesting. So I will not be buying any more houses in the UK. I'm a bit overexposed, I feel, now on the houses. The law in the UK for property investors now is very tight. It's very much in the tenant's rights. You're getting ridiculous no-win, no-fee lawyers. It's very hard to get them out. They got nowhere to go to. Rents are ridiculously high, even where I am with my properties. In the last 5 years, the rents have tripled. And it's because people are getting out. They're getting out and being driven out of the cities and so forth. Now, London's an interesting one because nobody really wants to live in the centre of London. They've worked out they can remotely work. So when I first went to live here in 2020, my biggest concern was, what are my franchises going to think about me living abroad and working? But then that situation happened where we had to stay at home when we couldn't go out for 2 years. And then Zoom became the thing. Now, it doesn't make a damn difference at all. So remote working, why do you want to live in London for when you can live in Devon, or you can live in Scotland, or you can live in Northern England and have the fields around you and countryside or the beaches around you and still do the same thing via Zoom? You don't have to live in London anymore. So multiple reasons why London's declined. Nicosia, I don't know much about it other than it's damn hot today. I can tell you that. It's nearly 50 degrees out there. Couldn't believe when I got out of the car. It's very different to where I'm living in Cyprus. But I believe more and more people are going to work remote. AI is going to change things. Metaverse is going to be a huge thing. Industries are going to be wiped out overnight. And people need to be aware of that now. And what they're getting taught at school now is completely useless. Going back to that subject, they should be studying AI They should be studying metaverse. They should be studying property. I still think property is number one. I advised all my clients of franchises. You need a 6-7 figure income. Now we have to talk profit here, not turnover. If you go to most gurus, entrepreneurs, they'll try and sell you courses on turnover. It's ridiculous. It's all about what you get to keep and take home. It's important. So £100,000 a year minimum you need now to get anywhere in life. After you've had your taxation taken off it and so forth. Then you invest that money into property. That's my favorite asset class, property and gold, which we'll get onto in a second. And then you learn the leveraging skills to be able to do that property up, add value, refinance, pull it out, buy another one, refinance, pull out, buy another one. And you keep doing that over and over and over again till you own 10 million worth of property. Then if house prices go up by 10%, you've made yourself £1 million tax-free in equity, just like that. That's how you get seriously wealthy. And on top of that, you've got the cash flow from the mortgage rent coming in as well. So you've got two ways to win: capital growth and on the cash flow. And throughout a lifetime. And also, if you know a bit about property too, as you progress and as you get older, you can put it in a Cyprus trust, which is the most powerful way of protecting your asset, where there's no inheritance tax. In the UK, inheritance tax 40%. It's ridiculous. And they're looking to rise it even more. And you can protect your assets from lawsuits and so on. And you can leave it for your family. The Cypriots are very clever and they've worked that out. That's very, very smart. So for me going forward now, it'll be invested in cash flow properties. I believe Cyprus is going to see a big spike especially in the east side of Cyprus where I'm living.
I think it's everywhere. Nicosia is stable.
Is it?
I mean, people, even in London, Nicosia, everywhere, they're always going to rent. There's always going to be people to give you an ROI on your property.
Yeah.
So that's what you're saying, is that's what you should be thinking of initially, the ROI of the property.
The cash flow return on your investment. And you should always find a way to never use your own money. You should always OPM, other people's money, which is the banks. You played on their game. So we mentioned earlier on that you shouldn't pay off your own home. Now, I believe American gurus will say don't own your own home. For Cyprus, I believe that's a bad advice. For England, I think that's bad advice. America, like we talked about earlier, they don't see the capital growth, so it's different. You can't go wrong. We talked about my grandparents. They did nothing. They sat there for...
Due to the bank crash as well, our banks don't really give big loans anymore. You need to give a big amount in advance.
Yeah.
So that's
I believe it's like 50% here, right?
Different situation, but still.
UK, you can get away with 10%. In fact, there are some 100% bank mortgages back again. So the goal is you're taught to pay your mortgage off for the house you live in. The house you live in is not an asset, it's a liability. You've got electricity bills, you've got air conditioning must be extremely expensive. You've got other taxes. If you don't pay it, the house will be taken off you. So what is true, this is my opinion, by the way. I mean, I'm not a financial advisor, but my opinion is you should use the cheapest money you can borrow, which is residential mortgages, to finance your own house as much as you can, and then use that money to go and put deposits on investment properties. So eventually you've got enough cash flow coming in that will take care of your residential property, and it will wipe that mortgage out if that's important to you. But it's a bit of a scam. And the reason why it's a scam is that if you go to a bank and say you borrow €1 million, they're going to want to make sure you put enough deposit down to cover them, and they're going to make you take out life insurance to at least cover their money they're lending. They're not stupid. And life insurance isn't that expensive. It's going to be, at the very most, depending on your condition, anywhere from 20 to €100 per month, if that. And they cover you. So why the hell will you want to pay your property off when the only reason you're going to want to pay that off is if you die or something happens to your loved one or whatever, that you might want to move? Well, I'm sorry to break it to everyone who's watching or listening to this, we're all going to die. That life insurance, you need to make use of that. Let the life insurance, let the bank pay off your mortgage. Don't you pay it off when you could have used all that money to become financially free and buying all these investments. They don't teach you this at school. They teach you safe. It's not safe to pay your house off. It's not. If you get yourself in financial trouble, if you've not got a big cash flow coming in, you're in trouble. You lose your house straight away. And we saw that people lost their business in that crisis we had, and so on. And they had to stay at home. They couldn't operate their business anymore. The people who paid their houses off lost their houses, gone. The people who owe millions to the banks, It's no longer your problem. When you owe £1 million, it's your problem. When you owe 10 million or 20 million pounds, the bank becomes your best friend. They take you out for dinner. It's the bank's problem. They work with you to get through situations, recessions and so forth. So it's a complete mind twist to what you taught at school.
You are here in Cyprus. You will learn more about the Cyprus situation as well with the banks. And maybe in the next podcast, you can give me more tips for Cypriots, not just millionaires who come from abroad.
Yeah.
Because it's a little bit different in every country, but still the concept is the same.
What I like about it's good and bad. I see here the Cypriots, true Cypriots, they operate as a family unit. They're very tight. Even the cousins are all working on that business together. And then cousins are cousins. Everyone seems to be a cousin, a cousin, a cousin of a cousin. And it's not so much the money, it's what they're told to do by the grandparents, the hierarchy. And it's great. But the issue you have with that is very old style thinking when they come to their business side, because a lot of them want to break out and go and expand the family business, but they don't.
You can't. They don't.
Like
the family doesn't allow you.
Yeah,
it's a duty, and the fat family members go through that. Eventually, they break out when they're 50. They can buy their share, but it takes a lot of grit to get out of the family dynamics. It's a mindset shift.
And that love your family, don't take advice from won't work. I did a very famous event where I was a keynote speaker to 1,000 entrepreneurs, and it was very much a ethnic population in the crowd. People from Pakistan, from India, and so forth. It's called the Signature Awards in London at the Hilton Hotel, and I won Entrepreneur of the Year in 2022. It's a huge proper. You got to submit your accounts and proof of your real estate, everything to them. And I was up against Lloyds Bank and stuff like that. So it's tough competition. The year before it, my friend Alfie Best, the billionaire, the gypsy billionaire, won it. So I won it. I thought, wow, it's incredible. And then the following year, they invited me to be a keynote speaker. I was terrified. And I was speaking to at least 600-700 families there that were all Asian, ethnic makeup and so forth. And I did my usual thing. And I said, look, what top tips? He said, don't take advice from your family. Don't work with your family. Love them. And I could see the interviewer looking at me thinking, oh, this is a bit awkward. And after I got off stage, I said, oh, man, these people all share bank accounts as families. They all work together. So they all went quiet. They didn't give me a clap on that bit. But so, it's different. You got to learn how to break out of your conditioned environment.
Cultural conditioning.
With respect to your family too. Yeah. With respect to them.
I'm going to go to the Michael Jackson topic now. We cannot skip that. I would like to know, we've learned your story now with starting the schools. When and how did you meet Michael Jackson? Tell me about that moment when you met and then you decided to become his bodyguard and you stayed next to him for 10 years.
Yep.
How did it all start?
Okay, so my best friend is the international star Uri Geller. He, otherwise known as the spoonbender or whatever, in the 70s and 80s, he's one of the biggest stars in the world.
So how did you meet Uri Geller then?
So that tremendous success at 18 years old with me, the Ferrari, in a little town called Barnstable, made international newspaper. I was on the front page of all the newspapers in the UK. Bully boy becomes multimillionaire. It's an unusual story. Karate, whatever you want to, just taekwondo, but karate. A picture of me there, picture of me with 7 years old, looking very naive and frail, and then a picture of me in my sports car. It was a great story, and the media just took that and it ran with it. And on the back of that, I did all the TV shows, morning TV shows, evening TV shows. Back then, millions of people watched mainstream TV. You never had Netflix, you didn't have Amazon. It was just 4 channels. So I was exposed to millions of people, my story. Uri Geller was watching it, and he said, I want to meet that guy and do some videos with him. And it was about anti-bullying. And he would do the power of the mind, self-belief, and so forth. That you only use 10% of your brain, and you got to learn to access and be positive. And I would do self-defense, and that was the plan. And we made 4 videos together. Actually, we took it a little differently. We did more fitness-based with women, and released those videos VHS at the time, free to the schools, and put them in the shops all around the world. And that's exactly what we did. And he became my best friend. He became godfather to my eldest daughter, Madison, who's now 21, turning 22. And unbeknown to me, I had no idea. I knew he was so famous around the world because I travel with him. Wherever we go, he gets mobbed. As simple as that. People running down the street, handing him spoons to bend and If we're in swimming pools, they hand it to him. Yeah.
Well, there was an era, I remember.
Me growing up with but you imagine me growing up with that man who's so positive, so health conscious, so great in my ear all the time. I sometimes would avoid his phone calls because he was always pushing me to be a greater person of myself, better myself.
But how lucky you were
very lucky,
to find such a mentor.
Even
so
now,
young,
I speak to him.
To believe in you,
incredible.
To be next to you.
Trust me too. So yeah, presidents used to call him when I was out walking with him and people like that. Big names. But never did I ever hear anything to do with Michael Jackson and him. I had a phone call from him about 3:30 in the morning, which is not unusual for Uri Geller because he's got companies all around the world. He's very famous in other countries. He had to stay awake for TV shows back then and satellite back then. It was very different to what it is now. And he said, you need to come to my house now. And if you don't come to my house, it'd be the biggest mistake you'll ever make. I said, well, why? Is everything okay? He goes, yeah. So you've got to tell me. He said, no, I can't tell you. You're going to have to come. Look at you where you are. You got a Ferrari, you're a multi-millionaire. You trust me. I love you. See you in a few hours. Bye. Put the phone down on me. I was thinking, how the hell am I going to tell my other half? Where am I going? And he lived in Reading, which was about 3.5 hours drive from where I am. So I did it. I had this huge row with my fiance at the time. And I got in the car. I trusted in Uri, drove to his house. His gates opened up to his incredible mansions, like a replica of the White House in Sunderland-on-Thames in the Reading. And I walk in, and this guy comes up to me, bows to me. He goes, "Hi, Master Fiddes, I'm Michael Jackson. Pleased to meet you." And unbeknown to me, Michael Jackson was Uri Geller's best friend. They were like best buddies for years. Michael went to one of Uri's shows in disguise, and watched him do one of his shows in America or somewhere. And they've been lifelong friends, and was best man at his wedding and stuff like that. Me and Michael hit it off. Michael was fascinated with Bruce Lee, martial arts. He's already a black belt. And
really?
So he was looking to go to become a second dan. And also his best friend, a guy called Mark Lester, who played Oliver Twist, the original Oliver Twist story, the musical. I still in contact. Michael introduced me to him. I'm still in contact with him now. I spoke to him from Cyprus the other day. He's going to come out to visit me. So he was a childhood star, the same age as Michael. So when the magazines were out with Michael Jackson and Mark Lester as Oliver Twist, they were always in the same publications together. So they both wanted me to train them to become second dan black belts, but they're both world famous. They can't just rock up at a class. So I don't know exactly the conversation that took place between Uri Geller and Michael, but maybe Michael was looking for security. He lost his long-term bodyguards, but I got told he wanted to meet Bruce Lee's daughter, Shannon Lee, and his ex-wife. He wanted to know what made Bruce Lee relevant for so many years. And I had contacts who could make that happen. I tried to make it happen, but Michael didn't turn up with meeting Shannon Lee, Bruce Lee's daughter. So we got on really well. We stayed up all night talking. We went out in my car, and we became best friends. And then, then I had to return back to this town and explain to my family where I've been. And you imagine how crazy they must think I am. I said to Michael, how's this going to work? I asked for his telephone number and he didn't give me his number. And I thought, maybe I was a bit pushy. He said, I don't have a telephone number. He said, let me take your telephone number and I'll ring you. He has a number where you ring and then it goes to his PA. And if you're on the list, you get put through to whichever hotel he's at or Neverland. Like I had a diversion system and you have a fake name that he would stay under. You get given the fake name. There's a whole system to go through. So later on in life, you'd have the telephone number to get to him or they ring me to get to Michael. And we just became friends. Hanged out with him and Uri, watched The Matrix TV. We'd go to movies together and stuff like that. And I'd tell my mum. My mum used to be close friends with him and stuff. My brothers knew of it. One of my brothers got to meet him and speak to him on the phone quite a few times. And then after a while, I could see he was struggling. And I said to him, look, Mike, I could do this for you. Don't worry about these £150,000 security bills anymore. My family, myself, I'll do it wherever in the world. I'll take it over for free.
He was struggling with financially.
Yeah.
And
that also trusting people.
What year was that?
99.
99.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it got worse and worse and worse. So I could see that, like a hotel suites, his credit cards would decline, and then I would have to pay for the hotel suite.
Because you were already a millionaire.
Yeah,
with
yeah.
your own businesses.
Yeah, it was bizarre. I didn't ask too many questions about it. He would make excuses up that maybe his card was declined for this or that reason, or what are the accountants doing? I don't really think he knew what was going on. Well, I was concerned for him, what was going on. People were ripping him off left, right, and center. His security bill was $150,000 a month. So I ended all that. He offered to pay me. He was crying when I said I'll take over security. I gave him a hug. I said, I don't want your money. I just want your advice. I want you to be my friend. And that's it. No transactional relationship. And I think that's why it works so well.
Wow.
And we took it over. So his brother-in-law would be the guy who'd be stood outside. I would have an adjoining room to Michael's room in the hotel suites. And we'd go wherever he needed me to go. He'd call me, I'd leave, I'd fly. Sometimes I was on holiday and he'd fly and I'd have to go,
So you were traveling around the world with him. Did you spend time in Neverland as well?
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
Well, people to talk about Neverland. We had this running joke, Michael was never at Neverland. That was built to have sick children go there, to have a Make-A-Wish Foundation and so forth. Michael was more comfortable being at the Beverly Wilshire Hotel in Los Angeles. He had the Michael Jackson suite. They even named that after him, which he rented out full time. Because in the city, Neverland's about 3.5 hours drive up to the mountain. It's hard to get to. And he didn't like helicopters and stuff. So most of the time we would be in hotel suites around the world.
So you are one of the most vocal people about the allegations of what happens between Michael and children at Neverland.
Yeah.
What really happened and why was it twisted?
Well, I think we see it more and more now, don't we? I think Michael Jackson was the first person to be attacked. He became extremely powerful. So he was cash poor but asset rich. He owned half of Sony Music Publishing. That's how powerful he was. I won't name them all, but the ones that are out there I can name, like Eminem's song, he bought all them. He bought the Beatles catalogue. The Happy Birthday song, what you sing, the Happy Birthday, he owns that. He became, his influence on the world, he could just say one thing and impact politicians. Presidents were calling all the time, trying to get him to the White House. Like President Clinton was a good friend. He used to ring all the time for him. He was allowed privileges that other people wouldn't. He knew his power, but also it was against him. People were trying to bring him down all the time. Lawsuits constantly, people trying to copy him, suing him, claiming that he copied their songs and nonsense. And if you're going to go after someone, the way to go after them is to accuse them of murder or child abuse. That's the most powerful things. The stigma alone is going to ruin you. And the sad thing for me as his friend, if you go online, it takes you 2 minutes to find the recorded evidence of the family saying, hey, let's do this. If we do this, we're going to win big time. You type in Michael Jackson tapes, 1993 case, you'll see all these stuff come up.
Yeah, the FBI did a full
investigation
and they didn't find anything.
There's nothing. It's nonsense. The guy was lovely, man. I had 2 stepsons too, and he's hanging around with them. He's a lovely guy. He was into women, but he didn't want to upset the fan base because that's the way Motown raised him. Don't show the world you've got a girlfriend or you're married because it'll upset your female fans. You'll cut your fan base in half. So towards the end of his life, he got a bit more relaxed about that, and he wanted to do a TV show to show the real Michael Jackson. He got stitched up, we now know, which I've been banging on about for years because I was in that meeting with Martin Bashir, and Martin Bashir said to Michael, I am going to clear up the mystery around you. I'm going to show everyone about your music, about your childhood, about your life. And all he focused on was nonsense. He manipulated footage. He did the same with Princess Diana, and that's been exposed. The only reason Michael Jackson picked Martin Bashir is because he had the Princess Diana letter. I was there in the meeting with Uri Geller and one other person. And Michael read it. Michael was good friends with Princess Diana. And that documentary ended his career. But also Michael didn't help by giving him the footage in the first place. But it was supposed to be about music and dance, but negativity sells papers.
What did you learn about the media during that period? And has it changed today with social media? Can we reclaim the power if the media are trying to paint the story? Can we go, if he was alive today and this happened today, would he be able to reclaim it by telling his own story, or could the media still destroy him?
It's a good question, because the problem Michael Jackson had, he had to rely on a third party. So he would tell his story, then hope that they would not manipulate it and edit bits out. Now, I've been victim to a TV show which I had to sue a channel where they manipulated the footage about me and the Jackson family to gain views.
That's what they do, and that's what they did a lot in the past.
I got what I wanted. That show could never be played again. So having seen that with Michael, I still fell into that trap myself, because they know using the Jackson name, if they do a negative way on them, they're going to get more views. Positivity doesn't sell. So I had this show go out. I thought it was great. I was working to produce. I thought it was going to be great. And it went out and I was like, what the heck is this? So they even recognize it. They've got the start at the end, and me and the Jackson brothers were like, what the hell? What is this? But I took legal action against that. So no, you can't trust the media. You cannot. Social media, it's always a question, isn't it, with Michael? Because he could say things which he would see was innocent, which the world would never understand. Because his life was not normal, to say the least, you know? So him on Twitter, X or Facebook could be a nightmare. You still had to have somebody with him to help him out.
Managing the publicity and what he says and how he says it. Yeah, you need to have consultants.
Yeah, but then he would have his own voice. So I think social media would have been, they predict Michael would have like billions of followers. He'd be the most followed person in the world.
Because now you are his voice on one of his voices. Yeah. I don't know if there's anyone else speaking.
Well, a lot of them passed away, sadly. But for me,
on social media,
I stick my neck out for the guy because I know what he's like. I know Michael. I know the man behind the mask. When he shut those doors off, the makeup came off. It was all an act to create publicity. He was a genius. He studied the greatest in the world. Just like I did. I studied the greatest in the world and made myself better in my business, in what I do. He studied the greatest artists in the world. Howard Hughes, eccentric people. You understand? Eccentric people make publicity. That if you want to be interesting, you need people to be interested in you. You need to stay relevant. There are other people that are good at this, like Madonna, like Simon Cowell. You know, I know Simon Cowell. You'll see he always wears the same clothes on TV every day. He does not do that behind the scenes, you know, of course not. And Michael would have the most outrageous outfits on, making sure. But people with him, he used to say to me, so Matt, when I go on stage, I always turn my back on the crowd before I reveal myself. Because I know they're going to want to see my face more than anything else. They're not waiting for the song. They're waiting for how am I looking. The media are waiting to report on that. So he'd put sticky tape on his nose to make himself look ridiculous. And he would say, watch what happens. The next few days, I'm going to get front page. I'm going to beat all the stories. And it would work.
So with eccentricity, that was his thing. So what did you learn 10 years next to him about business, about attention,
I owe it
life?
to Uri Geller and him, don't I? So he sat me down. So I said I had those 5 martial arts schools in Devon. The next town was 40 miles away. I didn't know how the heck I was going to get anyone to work for me in my early 20s, you know, doing that. I sat down with Mike, billionaire. So Mike was a billionaire on paper, assets, with all the catalogs and music rights he had and so on. He could have just sold one song and made a few million. I sold Billie Jean and made a fortune. He sat me down and he said, how's your business going? I said, it's doing okay, Mike. I'm doing $1.5 million a year. I've got 5 schools. So why are you not taking this thing worldwide? I said, I can, because the next town's 40 miles away. And he's like, whoa, stop there. I'm a poor boy from Gary, Indiana. I had nothing. One of 9 children. And I've got records in shops all around the world. I say stadiums around the world. I've got people in the crowd dancing to my songs. They don't even understand the language I'm singing in. And you're telling me you can't get someone to go 40 miles? I said, no, I can't. He goes, you can. It's called franchising. I said, well, it's never been done before in martial arts. He goes, great. That's why you got to do it. You got to be a pioneer, not a follower. And from that day onwards, Michael became a pain for me because he would be holding me accountable. He wrote down these things on this napkin at the Renaissance Hotel in London. And it was build a brand, be controversial, use mainstream media, be the best, you know, be a pioneer, not a follower. Follow the greatest in the world. Read the books. Tony Robbins mentions him in this personal power kit. He's got the biggest endorsement deal of all time, the Pepsi Cola deal, where he burnt his hair. So the conversation between Michael Jackson changed to how's the kids doing, Mike? How's your family doing? Where do you want to go to? Matt, how's the business? How many schools have you opened up? And he used to ring, and it was landlines back there mainly. He used to ring, and I used to sound my staff and my wife, tell him I'll call him back. Because I know I've not opened up enough schools to impress him, you know? And at the same time, when I did speak to him on the phone, I would say to him, how are you doing? He said, great, I've just signed a deal, $80 million to tour Korea. I was like, wow, okay. Then he would say to me, how are you doing, Matt? I've opened up 11 martial arts schools this month. And I come off the phone, I said to my wife, I just felt like I felt like nothing. But that gave me the hunger. I wanted to beat that guy. That was my friend. I wanted to kick his ass.
And he inspired you. He really cared.
Yeah, it was rivalry. Yeah.
To keep you accountable.
So I had Uri Geller pushing me on staying positive, health, property on one side. And then I had Michael Jackson pushing me on branding, getting your name out there, marketing, being in people's faces until you really annoy them. And also living with that around him, with his advisors, and watching him do that, master that behind the scenes. So my upbringing, from the age of 18 to when he died, I was 29, was around like the Walt Disney family, the Charlie Chaplin's grandchildren. We used to go for dinner at Blenheim Palace at midnight, alone, in secret, no one would ever know. I had this network of people like Britney Spears and Whitney Houston, Marlon Brando, Elizabeth Taylor, who I was hanging around. And so I was part of the greatest network, we called it back then, mastermind ever. We used to go and meet at Mohammed Al-Fayed's house in Oxted in London for dinner. The owner of Harrods in London, the Ritz Hotel in Paris, a billionaire, sat opposite me. And then I had Michael Jackson here, I had Uri Geller here, I had Daryl Hannah, the movie star, David Blaine. And I'd be looking around thinking, how the hell did I get here? What's going on? You know?
But they influence you, the influence of the network.
Without you even realizing.
It's amazing. So, even the energy of just sitting with these people and listening.
It
just goes into your subconscious.
And I'll go back to the hotel room that night, I'll go home and I'll be buzzing like, I need to get to where they are. And Mohammed Al-Fayed would say, just call me anytime you want to come to Harrods, we'll shut it down for you and Michael, and I'll see him spend £2 million and then half an hour, and I'll be like,
but you were smart too. You were smart too when, and kind as well, because I know you did it also out of heart when you said, I'm going to help you and I just want to learn from you.
Yeah.
That was the key. It wasn't like a transactional relationship. And I've met you in person, I've seen you online, and I know that you work a lot with heart. And these people can see that because they get used so much.
Yeah.
So you also did something very powerful
and
you got the opportunity.
The real lessons I got from Uri Geller and Michael Jackson is that behind what you would see Michael Jackson, Uri Geller to be like, and the superstars, not all of them, but the ones that we hanged around with, because Michael would only have him mixed with people that would be not negative to him, to his lifestyle. I know he made some wrong decisions on people he trusted. And I see that happen a lot. I've been victim of that too, thinking people are my friends, but they're just friends because my money or the friends I knew. The night Michael Jackson died, I lost a lot of friends. I never heard from him again. It's interesting how things work. They want to be your friends because you're friends with the biggest star in the world.
Tell me about where you were when Michael Jackson died, and what happened, how you felt.
No, it was just like any other day. I spoke to him on a Tuesday evening. He called me up. He was on his way to rehearsal and he was not good. He said to me, he wants Joseph's number. Joseph is his father. He called him Joseph. They weren't allowed to call their dad that. It's just the way it worked in the Jackson family. He wanted Joseph Jackson's number. Joseph Jackson was in Las Vegas. Michael was on his way to the Staples Center for rehearsals in Los Angeles. So I knew something was wrong, because it's an unusual request for him. Now, their relationship got better. It's quite well known that they had problems. After the trial in 2004, Joseph was like a rock to Michael. It got better. And Michael said to me, I won't swear on the podcast, but he swore. He said, I want to sort this bleep out. I need Joseph to come and help me to sort this bleep out. He's the only person who can sort this out. And I said, what's going on? He said, they're controlling me, Matt. They're making me rehearse. I'm exhausted. I've been doing these songs for over 30 years. I wrote these songs. I developed these dances. I don't have access to anything. The security, I don't know. I need you to come to Los Angeles now. I need Mark Lester to come, his best friend. Mark Lester's godfather to all of Michael Jackson's kids. And I said, okay, here's Mark Lester's number 2. I said, Michael, I can't just... I had young children. And I said, I can't just leave right now. But maybe Mark can. But Mark was a single dad of 4 kids. I thought about going. And then I thought, well, he's going to be here next week anyway for the O2 concerts, the 50 shows. So I said, why did you sound funny? And his voice, he sounded very like upbeat. And he said, the doctor's giving me a drug to help me perform tonight, because they said, if I don't perform good tonight, they're going to kill the shows. And I owed him all this hundreds of millions of pounds. And I said, what's he giving you? He said, he's giving me a drug called ephedrine, which is like an upper, it's not an illegal drug, but it's like bodybuilders would use it before they train and dancers would use it. It's like the next thing up from caffeine and so forth. It accelerates the heart rate. It will make him very hard for him to eat, hunger suppression, and he would dance and be able to perform like he does. He doesn't just stand on stage with a microphone. Michael doesn't. It's a 3-hour, half-hour workout. So he was moaning. He was incredibly concerned about these shows. And I said, why have you done 50 shows? So I didn't agree to 50 shows. They said, I agreed to 10. And they said, if exceed and demand meets it, then there's something in the contract I didn't understand that they could put on more shows. I was happy with doing 10. I said, okay. They say, are you going to be okay doing 50 shows? He goes, yes, I am. I have to, won't I? I have to find a way of doing it. I've got a doctor with me. I'm being taken good care of. I'm going to be fine. Please get Joseph Jackson to ring me. Please get Mark Lester to ring me. And if you can come to America now, I'd appreciate it. He spoke to my daughter, Madison, on the phone. She could barely remember it. My daughter, Lola, spoke to him. And then I passed the phone back to me. And that was the last time I ever heard from Michael. And then on the Thursday, I was sat at home. I'd just come in from the office in Barnstable, my head office for the Matt Fiddess Martial Arts School, sat on the sofa, and Yuri Geller calls me on my mobile phone. I say, hey, what's up? He goes, Matt, everyone's calling me. Bear in mind, Yuri's the most famous person linked to Michael Jackson, right? So they all work around the world. He's the best man at his wedding and so forth. So he's the go-to person. Plus, he's famous. I wasn't that famous back then. It was well known. And he called me up. He said, I got Fox News on the line, CNN on the line. They're all saying Michael's had a heart attack. I said, Yuri, I'm not going to ring him again, because every time something like this would happen before, I'd ring him up and he'd be like, Michael will go, got you. It's my immediate stunt, so I'm not going to ring him up. I spoke to him 2 nights ago. He's a bit concerned. He's nervous. He's just doing a media stunt to hype his visit to London for the shows. He goes, yeah, you're right. And Yuri went away. That was that. Then Yuri called me back half an hour later. He goes, right, I'm going down my house, Matt, and there's paparazzi here. The phones are going off the hook on my business lines, my staff lines, and my mobiles all around the world. They say Michael's in a coma. I was like, dear. I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to ring him up. I'm going to ring Michael up. And if he jokes with me, he jokes, so I just want to check on him anyway. So I didn't have to do that, because as I did that, the landline called and my wife said, Mark Lester wants to speak to you. He said, it's damn urgent. So I said, Yuri, I've got to call you back. And I knew then straight away. Because if Mark Lester's calling me, it's different relationship. He speaks to the nanny of Michael's children. That's how we get hold of Michael Jackson. We would ring the nanny or the bodyguard there at the time, and they'd put the phone on to Michael. Mark said, where are you? I said, I'm in my living room. I said, this is not good, is it? He goes, nah, it's not. So I'll get straight to the point, Matt, but Michael's dead. And I was like, okay, what the hell's happened? He said, I don't know. I've media calling me. I've called the nanny. She's screaming down the phone. He's dead. He's dead. He's dead. Are you sure? I said, yeah. It'll be on the news soon. It'll take him some time, because no media outlet wants to report Michael Jackson's dead until they got legitimate confirmation it's real, because of his publicity stunts with all around the world that he's done with the mask and the makeup and everything. About an hour later, on the news, Michael Jackson rushed to hospital. There's a picture of the ambulance. I knew he was already dead by that point. I had his brothers ringing me up, thinking, are you with my brother? No, I'm not. I'm in England. What's happened to my brother? I don't know. I knew what happened to him, because I learned from Mark that he's passed away. It was tough. And then it just, about 2 hours later, it flicked to coma. Then Los Angeles news spoke to the coroner, and it confirmed that he was dead. And then from that moment onwards, I wanted to stay the hell out of it. And you'll find the footage on YouTube, right? I said to Yuri, I want to stay out of this because I think he's died of drugs. I think he's had an overdose. And I've witnessed situations being with Michael where there's been concern for me. And I've aired my concern to his staff that something needs to stop now. We've had to get doctors out of his life and things. And his last words with me were that I've got a doctor with me, I'll be okay. And the doctor's given me something, And he was concerned. So I firmly believe it was not a heart attack. He's done an overdose and he's not woken up. That's what
the doctor gave him, or like normal
doctor
drugs?
Gave him, yeah. Not the doctor that he gave him, not that one, another doctor who's still alive. And I voiced my concern about the other doctor to his people in the past, and they listened to me, but Michael would not listen. He would not listen to it. That was the issue we had.
What do you think really killed Michael Jackson? Was it the whole system burned him out, that celebrity system, or just him making some bad choices because of the pressure with the medications he was taking, the drugs?
So I spoke to the doctor since he came out of jail, the one who went to jail for killing Michael Jackson, manslaughter. He wanted me to hear him out. I saw a newspaper article in a Sun newspaper in the UK, and they interviewed Dr. Murray. He's the one who went to jail. He's the one who administered the fatal dose. And he said in the last week of his life, he said, Michael Jackson was asking for Matt Fiddess and Mark Lester. Please get them on the phone. I need them to come. And I read that and it got to my heart. And I thought, geez, it killed me. Michael was screaming out for me to come to the house and no one reached out to me other than Michael at the last minute. It was too late by then. And I regretted not going out there. But knowing what I know now, I wouldn't have got past the security. The music company were protecting him. They knew there was a problem. So the more I know about it, I heard the doctor's opinion. I don't agree with what he did. I told him that on the phone. We had an hour conversation. It was amicable. I wasn't shouting at him or nothing. He told me that Michael woke up, panicked, and administered this drug and killed himself by mistake. That's what he told me. That's the real story. None of us will ever know. Although what I will say is that Michael has to take an element of responsibility here, because he was told many times by his own family would make interventions. They would turn up unannounced at the house to try and get him away and get him to rehab and get him help. And Elizabeth Taylor managed to do that once too. So he put his arm out to be injected with this very powerful anesthetic called propofol, which is what you have when you go to of operations. So the doctor shouldn't be administering in the first place. It has to be hospital setting. You don't take that to go to sleep. There's financial pressures. The media were driving him insane. They had completely battered Michael to bits. Even though he was found guilty of all counts in 2004, nothing changed. For the first time ever, we were going out and I'd hear people shout paedophile and stuff. We never had that before. The stigma, and you've seen since then, things go on where people being accused, going on where different celebrities, influencers, everything that's happened to Michael Jackson now, you see it being slammed with everyone, especially when they've died, because you can't defame a dead person. And it's going on and on and on and on. And you wonder now, you think, how can you believe any of this? Because I know it was untrue of Michael and what effect it had on him. And so I believe it's a combination of the doctor, Michael made some bad choices, and the media that drove him absolutely crazy. He imprisoned in his home. And having bad people around him, we couldn't get to him. We could not get to Michael. His family tried everything. And the sad thing is, remember I told you he asked for his dad's number. He did reach out to his father. He left an ask for a message saying, Joseph, I need you to come to and help me. Now, Joseph would go in there with a shotgun. He's done that in the past. He won't mess around. Michael's dad, he's very protective. He's a tough guy. But he got the message on the Thursday night. He listened to the voice note. He said, hi, Joseph, come to. It's too late. Michael was dead by then. So it was just an unfortunate series of events. And we weren't expecting it. I didn't think Michael was ever going to do the 50 shows. Because there's been a pattern in the past where he's called shows off, being ill and stuff. I just thought he was going to be sick or something like that. I didn't think he was going to die on us.
How did his death influence you after that? What did you learn?
Yeah, well, I learned that money's not... Well, let me get this straight. Okay, money is important if you want freedom in life to do what you want, give the best medical care and so forth. I learned fame is a big nonsense. People chasing the fame game, good luck. That's not going to get you anywhere. Most people who are famous now are actually broke. I learned that too. My experience with Michael, a lot of people, famous people don't have any money. There's no money in show business. It's shocking. And I learned what really matters too, which is your family and so on. My mum was a huge influence to me. She was absolutely massive because she studied to become a lawyer. She died of 56 of breast cancer. My millions in the bank could not help her. We tried every experimental drug. I spent £50,000 on a drug. It still didn't work. When you see your mother going into the grave at 56 years old and you look at your 3 daughters there with their nanny, and I'm only 32 and I'm this rich guy who's got the most powerful contacts in the world and I can't save her, you realise that all really is important is my children, my wife and everything else. Everything else is just... There's only so many cars and Ferraris you can buy, Lamborghinis and airplanes and all the rest of it, holidays you can take. It's about family. And that's one thing Cyprus does get right. without a shadow of a doubt. UK is not right. They don't eat together anymore. They don't do that. Michael was trying to encourage all that. So I learned that, I couldn't trust anyone anymore too. It's strange because I went from being multi-millionaire business guru, property expert, magazine cover star to Michael Jackson's bodyguard. And the Michael's brothers had to this too. They are forever known as Michael Jackson's brothers when they got success in their own way. Like Janet Jackson. She's known, she walks around, oh, it's Michael Jackson's sister, not Janet Jackson. And it's funny, I used to walk around a lot with Tito Jackson, Jermaine. We used to be out with Michael Jackson's mother. She used to come and stay at my house in Devon. And they will go up to Tito and goes, oh, Tito, I understand Michael Jackson's mum is here too. Because yes, she is. She's staying with Matt. And then Tito would stare at him and go, you do realize she's my mum too, you know? He was so famous, it was just never be a star like it ever again. But yeah, I learned a lot of lessons. And to me, it was all normal because I didn't know any different. I was so young when I raised on that. But looking back at that now, it was the greatest lesson. It also caused me some challenges in my life. You know, people couldn't relate to me. They couldn't relate to my family. I have no association with my family whatsoever. They don't. My brothers and me, we haven't spoken for years. We got nothing in common. It's
because you shifted dimensions. You went somewhere else.
I was somewhere else. I love my family. But we just grew apart, and they will. I wouldn't say they're jealous. I didn't really show any signs of jealousies, but when they started getting married, it was the partners that would be jealous. Like, Matt's doing this, you work for Matt. You should be like this. And that was the issue. And
so I guess when you shift circles, then a
there
lot
are some
of people
downsides.
Fall behind from your past because they can't get it. They just can't get it.
They can't understand it, yeah.
They want to live this different life, which is okay.
Yeah.
It's the standard, the normal, but then you need to create your own.
Well, the one I went to university, that brother, I ain't spoken to him, I don't think, in 25 years. And it's not because we've fallen out or anything. It's just that he went down a university path. He probably doesn't understand me, and I don't understand him. If we got in a room together, what are we going to talk about? We're different, you know?
I can see it in Cyprus too. Like, they judge you as well because you don't understand. Because they feel the traditional way is better. Yeah. And this is weird.
Like, I got a brother who's my PA for like maybe 5 or 6 years. I think he was influenced by others to try and do what I did, and so on. I miss him very much, and my younger one too. But I kind of understand it, and I see it with successful people that had we have all stayed close, I think I would have been held back. The fact that I broke away was the best thing that happened to my brother. Was probably the best thing that happened to me, And I wish all my family well. And of course, if they turned up one day, they're still my family. I'll do whatever I can for them.
And you have created your own
family. I'm older now. I look back
and
the mistakes I made. I probably had a bit of an ego back then. Well, of course I did. In my early 20s, look at the friends I was hanging around with, the cars I was driving. And of course, I must have been a bit arrogant back then and stuff. Now, what humbled me is my mum dying. I went for a nasty divorce too. But what matters to me now is my children and my family. That is my main priority, and my health. And funny how things change, huh? I couldn't care less about the Lamborghinis, the Ferraris, the houses. I really couldn't care less. That's something you can't teach that. You have to experience that. Like I tell my clients and my franchisees, don't buy this car because you'll think it's great for 2 weeks, then you'll be eating junk food out of it or something, and so on. And the amount of money I've wasted on cars. And you have to get that out of your system, and what we should be doing in our early 20s is putting our health first, because the decisions you make in your early 20s is going to affect what's going to happen to you when you're in your 40s and 50s and so on. But yeah.
So the big question is, if you would go back to that 16-year-old Matt Fiddess and you could sit with him.
Yeah.
He got kicked out of the house. He wanted to start his own business. His blood was boiling. What advice would you give him today?
Okay. So I fight with this a lot. I wouldn't have took it so big. It's a hard question, isn't it? Because I impact a lot of lives, but who knows what would happen if I'd never met Michael, or never have done this, or that guy in America who took me under his wing as a mentor, a guy in his 80s. I probably would be happier if I just had a normal career as a personal trainer, had my own gym. Yeah. Without this tremendous stress. You got to remember, I only get phone messages or phone calls when things go wrong. No one's going to message me say, I've had great success.
When you have a massive business, you mean?
Exactly, yeah.
It's a big
you get sued a
way
lot.
to carry.
It's a big weight to carry. I'm responsible for a lot of people's dinner on their table, a lot of people's mortgages and keeping it going, and it's growing and growing. It's the biggest chain in the world now, and I'm very proud of it.
So maybe keep your business lean. Like a lot of this content, I'm a content creator. I like to keep my business lean. I'm not there yet, but like to have a few people, a good team, maybe.
Yeah, I have a very trusted inner circle. I don't believe in lots of employees. That's just going to cause you trouble. I create my business so everyone's got a win-win strategy.
Yeah, because of the franchise model.
Because of the franchise model, and then also the instructors are also part of the model. So the more students they get, the more clients they get, the more they can earn. And also everyone's motivated by money. A lot of people are motivated by titles and stuff, and just want to get out of their dead-end job and turn their passion into their profession, and so on. But I'm very careful. I've been very lucky, in fact, I've not been driven down wrong, like fake gurus. I've been lucky to be mixing with the right people all my life. And when I have tried to go down the wrong path by mistake or being influenced, someone's pulled me back. No. Does that person really have property? Let's go and check. You know my network. You know the people I mix with are the real deal, and the ones that aren't, I have nothing to do with. Especially some of these American people, I know they got nothing, but they portray themselves that these airplanes they don't own.
Yeah, but because you were in those circles, you know who is the real deal. People don't know, and they fall into traps with social media today.
It's dangerous,
and it's difficult because you think you're learning, but you're being sold a lot of.
There's people out there selling
lies.
property courses for £30,000-40,000 a year who don't own property. That's like having a swimming teacher who can't swim. And people they don't ever ask the question. They don't do their due diligence. Like with me, I do well, I think, because if I put an event on, I get 300-400 people show up and they want to buy my course at the end. And they get very disappointed when I say, I'm sorry, there is no course. I'm doing this because I love helping people. If you want to meet up with me once a month and pay something to commit you to come, $5,000 or whatever they do, and we'll go over property, online marketing, building a brand, personal brand and everything else and so forth. But that's always going to change. But I've got nothing to sell you. Then I'll be doing it myself otherwise, wouldn't I? Why would I want to sell a course on how to do what I'm doing? It'd be an embarrassment, wouldn't it? It'd be like having Richard Branson selling the course on how to build his Virgin brand that he has and so forth. So I sell franchises because I know this is the best business to be in. Currently for me, the number one advice I'll give to an entrepreneur or investor is to buy one of my franchises. Because I know, otherwise I would be doing something else, wouldn't I? And the number one advice for investment strategy would be to buy property and gold. But selling courses, why do I want to be doing that for? I mean, that's just daft.
Well, I think it's
devalues
great
my brand.
for people to learn from people like you.
Yeah.
Of course, because you learn from experience and then you can pass on the experience. But yeah, at some stage, you don't need to sell courses and you only teach because you want to pass on the knowledge and the wisdom, but then people judge you that you're selling courses for money. So that's where it gets complicated. Yeah. So I guess they can listen to the free podcast that we have. Thank you so much for your time and for coming today.
It's been a pleasure.
I know there's a lot more of wisdom you can give us. So since you're in Cyprus.
Yeah, just up the road now.
We're going to do it again.
Everywhere's up the road in Cyprus.
We're going to do it again. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
It's been a great pleasure, and I believe for everyone watching. Any last words for entrepreneurs watching?
If they got questions, they could just go to my Instagram at official Matt Fiddess. DM me. You won't get a bot or sales pitch. I'll give you honest advice on what I do. Follow my social media. You will get me. I will get round to message everyone back personally. And whatever it is, follow your dreams. Dream it, believe it, achieve it. Go out there and make it happen. You can achieve anything you want in your life. It just takes mind power, the right mentor, the right people, and someone to keep you accountable. And go out there and smash it.
Thank you, Matt Fiddess.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me on.